You're listening to Don Carpenter on News Talk 1270 KIML. Call Don right now, 682-1270.
News Talk 1270 KIML. Don Carpenter Show. Just one more reminder. Sheridan County School District Number 3, Arvada Claremont, will hold a 2-hour delay due to the no unnecessary road advisory in effect. So no unnecessary travel on 90 between the Montana state line and exit 91. So 2-hour delay for Arvada Claremont. Classes will begin at 10 a.m. It's probably the last time I need to announce that. I know now that we're at full power, we can probably get out that far. We have Chris Brentel joining us. Good morning.
What's going on, DC?
Okay, so this is a topic that's been coming up a couple times over the past few weeks, and I wanted to talk to you about it last week when McCain mentioned it, but this is even better. During the Mike and Mike show on ESPN TV and radio yesterday morning, Mike Golick was talking about the NBA commissioner's stance on sports gambling. Apparently, Adam Silver, the commissioner of the NBA, says he supports legalized sports betting outside of Nevada, making him the first major professional sports league commissioner in the United States to openly do so. So, I guess my question is, does that open these sports up to something a little bit shady? Because the argument against open sports betting all over the country is that the more sports betting there is, the more chance there is for organized crime to get into the teams and get guys throwing games, shaving points, all that kind of stuff.
They could do that anyway.
Yeah, they could do that anyway.
Yeah, I don't think it makes any difference. I'm perfectly fine with it. Yeah, you know what? I have to say, he's got the politically correct thing for him to do would be to say, no, I'm against it, just like all commissioners before. I'm sure there's been commissioners in all sports, all major sports, that actually would have supported it but wouldn't have come out and said it.
Yeah.
Because, they have other interests involved. He's come out and said it, so I respect him for that. To me, it's not a big issue, but I don't see why it shouldn't be allowed. Well,
40 years ago, I would have said no. Because, 40 years ago, Las Vegas was run by the mob. Gambling was run by the mob. These gambling companies are big public corporations now.
Yeah.
They're under such scrutiny. Every state has its own gaming commission. They're under so much scrutiny. You can't even get a job dealing cards without, having an extensive background check done. Well, you can't get a job driving a truck without an extensive background check these days. But for the most part, everybody's scrutinized. It's not like watching Goodfellas or Casino, where these guys are running roughshod over these casinos. They're on the up and up these days. So I think it's about time that we start talking about having nationwide sports betting in the places where regular betting's legal.
Right. And all the mobs don't run Vegas anymore because they moved on to running unions. So
well, they believe me, they were always there.
Yeah, that's true.
and I grew up in a Teamster family. It's funny. I grew up, my dad was a truck driver. He always worked for union companies. Not because he liked unions. He's of the same mindset that I am about it, but they paid better. So, of course, they paid better until the union ran the company out of business. Then you had to go find another company.
Right.
Well, funny thing is, the last company that my dad worked for before he went into his first retirement, I worked with the same company for about 6 months before they went under, and it was a great job. It was easy. I'd work Monday through Friday, 8 to 5, which is unheard of for a truck driving job. Got paid good money. Didn't have to pay a penny for my medical benefits or my pension or anything like that. When they went under, I got a nice check from the company for not having notice. So I mean, the union did their job, but the problem is their job ran the company out of business.
Exactly.
So it's just it's an unfortunate situation. But yeah, you're right though. I think organized crime these days is much more even past the union stuff. I think what they're doing these days is more advanced, we'll just say.
Yeah.
The casinos were a way for them to launder money from illegal stuff. They would skim off the top, and they would launder money from drugs and prostitution and other illegal activities. So they don't need that anymore. I mean, there are a million ways to launder money now. I mean, Bitcoins and all kinds of stuff like that. So I think the days where, and Mike Golick says, that gambling is such a taboo thing. It's a 4-letter word in sports. He said it's a 4-letter word that's an 8-letter word. So I don't want to make him look dumb. He can count letters.
Right.
But I think the days of banning people for gambling. Well, we'll just use Pete Rose as the example. Every year you hear Pete Rose should be in the Hall of Fame, and I agree. I think he's served his punishment. And maybe when he was gambling on teams, maybe there was a chance of something bad happening, but those days are over with. It's a relic of a bygone time.
Yeah, and actually, we were talking about this yesterday, just around the building. Pete Rose. It's funny how that works, but we were talking about maybe the new commissioner might let him in. I think that's what's going to happen. He'll be let in by this new commissioner. I'm not sure. I'm not saying it's going to happen within, the year or anything, but at some point, I think he'll be let in the Hall of Fame. My opinion, I'm really on the fence with the Pete Rose thing because I understand the gravity of the situation. I mean, that's
at the time. It was 25 years ago, though.
It was 25 years ago, but you're really setting here's the thing. I think the steroid players should get in because to me it was Major League Baseball's fault. So from that aspect, I could see to let Pete Rose in. But if you kept your game cleaner and you went to a point where you caught the people that were on steroids and you actually cared all these years about it, and then you didn't let them in as well, I could see myself saying, "Hey, don't let Pete Rose in." But they created a culture where guys are going to get it anyway with asterisks by their records, by their wins and losses.
Yeah.
And so, from that standpoint, why not let him in?
I'm of the and you could even extend that the other way, and I'll give you an example. For example, Dikembe Mutombo, does he deserve to be in the NBA Hall of Fame just on his playing? He's probably close, right?
He's on the fence.
Yeah.
Bubble guy.
Now, that guy does so much great stuff. He's a shoo-in. He's a great ambassador for the sport.
He'll get in.
He'll get in because pretty much every penny he ever made, he sent back to his home country to help people, help the poor. The guy's an amazing person off the court. So you have, and I don't know a whole lot about basketball, but I know that much. Okay, so you have an example. Guy's going to get in because he did great things. He's a great ambassador for the sport. On the other side, you have Mark McGwire, Barry Bonds, Pete Rose, who are shoo-ins based on their ability, but they're not getting in because of off-the-field stuff.
Right.
You can't have it both ways. If you're going to let one guy in because he was a great ambassador, but maybe so-so on the court, and I don't want to say so-so. He was a great player, but Hall of Fame, who knows? It's one of those situations where you can't have it both ways.
I think you can have it both ways simply because they're apples and oranges. I mean, you're talking about guys that cheated, knowingly took steroids, knowingly bet on baseball.
But baseball didn't.
They didn't care. That's why I think personally they should be in. But I'm just saying the comparison to a guy getting it now. Here, I think where I stand on that is unfortunately, I think Mutombo's a great guy, probably one of the best athletes on and off the court. But I don't think what you do off the court should get you in either. Just like see what I'm saying? Just like if A-Rod's a jerk, let's just say Alex Rodriguez. Let's just say he's a jerk, or Ben Roethlisberger, It's been documented by a few people that he could be kind of a jerky guy sometimes.
Yeah.
You don't not let those guys in because they're a jerk or you think they're a bad person.
Because they performed.
They performed.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm with you on from that aspect.
Yeah. And if it, like you said, if baseball had done more to crack down on this stuff, and let's be honest, baseball has always been a sport where people try to get unfair advantages. I mean, the steroid era was just the beginning. I mean, you can go back 100 years and guys were doing all kinds of crazy stuff.
They still look at pitchers. Pitchers do things all the time that nobody ever catches.
Yeah.
Vaseline in the hair.
Well, and we'll go back to the 40s and 50s. These guys would go out at night, tie one on, beat their wives. They were not good guys off the field. They'd show up for batting practice, half drunk still, maybe at best hungover, and take what the Air Force would call a go pill, and go out there and hit 3 home runs. And it was legal. I mean, there was nothing illegal about it. Everybody did that back then. It was that's just the way people lived. I mean, you had businessmen doing the same thing. So you can't let those guys out of the Hall of Fame because they did something that's not acceptable to us now. Ty Cobb, one of the worst people that ever lived. You don't keep him out because what he did back then was we'll just say it was less unacceptable than it is now. I think everybody knew Ty Cobb was a jerk, but
right.
But the racist stuff, it was more acceptable back then. You don't take Ty Cobb out of the Hall of Fame because it turns out that he was a racist that sharpened his cleats and slid into second base. I mean, the guy was dirty, but he was a great player.
Right.
So you can't. I mean, you have to judge by what you know and in the time that they're in. But
I do hope they. I hope they open this betting thing up. I think that's.
Yeah,
I'm glad somebody actually stood up. As a commissioner, like I said before, it's not the biggest issue, but still, it's something. He showed a little bit of guts here.
And I think we'll see it. I mean, more and more states are allowing sports betting. I think New Jersey has finally got it. Delaware has had parlay betting on the NFL for years. So I think we'll see it more. I mean, it's one of those things. It's lost its bad mystique. So I think we'll see it. What do we have going on in sports?
We have Wyoming basketball preview and also Gillette College, Sheridan College preview as well.
Okay, sounds good. We'll see you at 9 o'clock. News Talk 1270, KIML.
The best local and national news and analysis. The Don Carpenter Show on News Talk 1270, KIML.